lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports, breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Devlin 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
Reports from the US Congress suggest that Nigeria is failing to protect Christian communities from escalating violence. Now, the Observatory for Religious Freedom in Africa claims that 90% of all Christians killed worldwide annually are Nigerians. Now, with over 55,000 deaths recorded in recent years, the issue has sparked debate about whether the violence is religiously motivated or a broader security crisis affecting all Nigerians. Now, the United States House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa has given President Donald Trump the green light to impose stringent sanctions on Nigeria in response to the widespread killing of Christians in the country. So are Christians really under siege, or is the crisis misrepresented? And that is what we hope to establish on today's edition of The Agenda. But however, taking precedence to our discussion, in a new development, a new twist, the Supreme Court's decision to uphold death sentence of Sunday Jackson for a farmer from Adamawa State. Jackson was convicted of killing a Fulani herdsman, Ardo Bawuro, in what he claimed was an act of self-defense during an altercation on his farmland. Human rights lawyer Emmanuel Ogebe is with the family of the defendant and the plaintiff, the accused, and brings new facts to the calls for clemency for Sunday Jackson. My name is Henry Williams, and thank you for joining us on The Agenda. My guests who are joining us on the discussion, Polycarp Badger, rights advocate and leadership coach, will be with us on this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Badger, for joining us. And we also have in the studio with me Reverend Raymond Anolefo, Director, Justice Development and Center, JDPC. Thank you, Reverend, for joining us on this discussion.
Thank you for having me.
All right, gentlemen, let's quickly go to this. I have with me in the northern part of the country, Emmanuel Ogebe and his team, as they bring to us new facts to the issue of Sunday Jackson's, Sunday Jackson's case, where the Supreme Court had declared him declared that he would be going in for the death of someone who attacked him on his farm. Let's go to Barrister Ogebe. Barrister Ogebe, great to have you join us.
Yes, thank you very much, Henry, for having us. This is certainly a very historic moment, I want to say, in Nigeria and in regard to the issues that we're discussing. We're right now in Numan, in Adamawa State. Unfortunately, that occurred. But as you can see, I'm here with my team, Reverend Dr. William Devlin, and to my right, I have the mother of Sunday Jackson, Mama Maimako Jackson. And here's what happened literally moments before you came on air. I showed Mama this picture, Mama, and she told me that today, seeing this photograph was the first time that she has seen her son Jackson in over a decade. Just think that her only son Jackson, she's not seen in 10 years. And it took us coming from America. We printed this picture in America. We sent someone to his prison to take his photograph. It took us personally coming for her to see her son. Her son has effectively been dead to her for over 10 years. And Mama I said, how do you feel seeing your son? She said, I'm happy. And I said, why? She said, because now I know he's alive. He was as good to her this past 10 years. So our visit is already very emotional for us. But guess what? There's more. Mama has a letter of clemency, of a plea she has written to the governor of Adamawa State. And right here before your camera, this is breaking news. Mama is going to sign a copy of her plea to the governor. So, Mama, go ahead, Kisahan. Yeah. Okay. I should write it for you. Me, Mako. All right. So I have signed it on her behalf on camera. This is now evidence that she authorized the signature to be included here. But Henry, this visit is emotional for more reason, for another reason. Because right here with me, we're at the palace of the chief. And in advance of our coming, the chief invited the family members to come. And we have a very proactive chief here, Chief, His Royal Majesty Ismaila Shagai. And he invited the father of the assailant who attacked Sunday Jackson. And we have him right here, Ardo Bawuro Hari. Ardo Bawuro Hari. If you can tilt the camera towards like that. And so he is a leader in the Fulani community. And the chief explains to us that most of the work that the royalty does is conflict prevention, early warning systems, crisis mitigation. And so this is one situation where he decided to invite the families together. I want to assure you right now, we have here a letter from the father of the man, Buba, who attacked Sunday on the farm, saying that they were not aware of the case and that they are forgiving Sunday. And he's writing to the governor to ask for the governor to pardon Sunday. So we're going to ask Baba as well to sign. So if you can pan down, if you can capture his signature.
We can't see Baba signing.
Right.
Okay.
Thank. Oh, you couldn't see?
Yeah, we couldn't see Baba signing.
All right. Baba should hold it up.
Okay. Can he hold up the paper so we can see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And then
fine.
finally, to the right of Baba is the father of Sunday Jackson, who is also here. Like the mom, he had never seen his sons, picture till just now, moments ago, before we came on air, when we to him. So that's the breaking news from our end in Northeast Nigeria right now. Thank you very much for adapting to this development. And Dr. Devlin, what's a quick word about what we
Yeah,
just
can we hear
experienced with the chief?
can he introduce
Yes.
himself? I believe he's a cleric. Can we get to meet him?
Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah. Dr. William Devlin. I am a international human rights advocate in America, and I work in 20 countries around the world, coming out of New York City. And I first heard of this case back on February the 19th of 2021. And at that time, Barrister Emmanuel and I were in Abuja, and we had the opportunity to come here to, and we actually to the Adamawa station in Yola, and on 15th, 2020, that's where we're met with Sunday Jackson, who was already on death row at that time, 6 years. We had the opportunity to hear the case and his testimony from his own lips, and we had the opportunity to pray with him. And then we told him, until we can get him released, we are going to be his advocates. So that's why Barrister Emmanuel Ogebe and I, Dr. William Devlin, both from America, have been working on this case for the last 4 years. And we're hoping for clemency from the governor of this state, and that the governor will show courage and do that. So that's why we're here. You've heard the story, Sunday Jackson's mother and father, and of course, the man who was killed is the decedent, his father. Thank you for covering this story.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Devlin. So, Ogebe, you are the man in the middle of all of this. How are you able to achieve this? I mean, what kind of, what does this present in the case of Sunday Jackson? How does this bring him closer to the setting him free? Let me put it that way.
Well, problem of cattle grazing on farmlands. That was a fundamental issue. We have a situation where an individual protected himself successfully against an attack and was then failed in what the state should have done, which is protect him. Now, as a result of the exhaustion of all legal mechanisms and remedies, we're now back to the prerogative of mercy, families who can weigh in on this and make this happen. Yes. And fortunately for us, we have a situation where the Fulani community and the community is a Fulani title. And he is saying, you know what, we've forgiven, my son can't come back. And so the government of Nigeria should accept my plea and set like this. If this man shows radical kindness like this, the Nigerian government should follow suit. And hopefully we can have resolutions of these sorts of conflicts in a just and fair system.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed. You guys are doing a great job, Ogebe and Dr. Devlin. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I also commend the families as well. Just as you pointed out, the kind of magnanimity, the kind of forgiveness that has been displayed by the families.
Yes.
Peaceful coexistence within, this, environment in which we find ourselves. But the question now is, what kind of situation does this present for the Sunday Jacksons out there who are not privileged to have people like
That's a very good question. And I should share something with you. We had a meeting with the king and all his chiefs. It was a big deal. And he told us that the fact of the matter is for there to be continuing peace in this community, Jackson needs to be spared. And he's within the community. This is a strong incentive.
Do you think in spite of all that you have done, the work has been done, the families are willing to set aside the differences, that the government would not still yield to this calls for clemency?
Pardons, for example, have tended to happen only for ex-governors who steal billions. So when it comes to poor people, there's no real incentive.
Yeah.
But, we've heard good things about the governor of Adamawa State.
Yes.
We understand that, he's very people for Nigeria, because we have the parents of the deceased victim saying, I want to see for my son's killer.
Yeah,
Now,
forgiveness.
we see this in the US. Parole boards, the family is invited to speak. This is not common to Nigeria's jurisprudence. So I commended the His Majesty for having the foresight to reach out to the family of the man who died. we forgive this guy, we've moved on, we didn't even know there was a case.
Well,
Yeah.
we're not alone, Jeff.
And Henry, if I just may add,
Okay, Dr. Devlin, go
God
ahead.
really did this. God pulled this all together. Thank you, Jesus.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Devlin. And do you have anything more to say? Are high. There seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. Do you think there's anything that could scuttle this?
Well, I mean, I have to say, firstly, that I thank Nigerians, for their outcry.
Yes.
And not just Nigerians, people around the world responded massively. You have a mental right to protect yourself. And so everybody feels concerned if we lose that right. So we just really want to appeal to the government to follow through. As of yet, we have lodged Jackson's clemency.
Okay.
So we're hoping that we will hear officially what the next steps will be.
And we also would
Dr.
ask,
Devlin,
since it's really a historic event, we ask your viewers to pray. It's not over. Not only pray for presented here today. This has really never happened before in the history of Nigeria. So we appeal to your viewers to pray.
Dr.
And let me say one more thing here.
Okay.
We're going from his father that he left children behind. So, there are ways we can step in to turn around the situation for good.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Finally, before I let you go, because I know you're in quite an unusual situation right now, and the question of reports from the US Congress. Dr. Devlin, do you think this situation, if resolved and Sunday Jackson taken off death row, will it go a long way to actually assuage the concerns of the international community over Nigeria?
Well, we don't have the answer for that. And we really hope that this whole situation, that there would be a revival in Nigeria of kindness, of love, grace, and mercy put out by the Lord Jesus Christ. So we will continue. And a revolution of love based upon the Lord Jesus Christ right here in Nigeria. And we want to be the example for how we can resolve these issues, not only today. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. And before you go, I wanted to ask my guests in the studio if they had anything to say to you. Reverend Raymond Nolefo is here with me. He's the Director of Justice Development and Center, JDPC.
Because since the news broke out, it's been on the lips of most of us in the country. And as the director of JDPC, we tried on our little part to escalate this matter, to take it up a notch. And they also made an appeal for clemency for Mr. Sunday Jackson. So hearing this today, I'll say thank you. We are quite pleased with this turn of events, and it's a testament that we can actually draw attention as a people that Barrister Emmanuel and Dr. Devlin came all the way from the United States to do this for us. I think we can also equally follow suit and try as much as possible looking for assistance, looking for a voice. So we can borrow a leaf from this and become the voice of the voiceless, and of course the soul of a soulless nation.
And the laws of nature say that charity begins at home.
Begins at home. I believe with our own example, those there can be no peace, and without peace there can be no development. And basically that's, I think it's a fantastic news. We say kudos to the two gentlemen there.
Another personality who has been also at the forefront of creating awareness on this he's a rights advocate and leadership coach. He has been very, very vocal about this. And I'm sure he would be very buoyant to hear what we have heard this afternoon. Mr. Baja, what are your thoughts?
I want to appreciate very deeply my brother for so many years, Barrister Ogebe. You've been right in the forefront trying to pursue for justice and peace in Nigeria. I want to thank that has taken place here. And I want to thank God also for the people and other parties that put hands together to get to this point. But it speaks a lot about us and to us as a nation. How did we even get into this point? Where this is what we live with day by day. For the past 1 decade and almost 2 decades, we have been living without peace like this. How did this happen? And that is the clemency. I deeply, deeply hope that the Nigerian judiciary will sit up so that justice is not only done, but seen to be done. Otherwise, the far-reaching implications will become a reference point for further injustice in the country. Matter before it becomes a landmark reference that will actually complicate justice or injustice in our country. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Baja. Now, let me go to our guys in the north, Emmanuel Ogebe and Dr. Devlin, before they go. Any final words, gentlemen? Okay, they've also come to bear, and that is the looming sanctions over Nigeria. Our reports, according to religious killings from 2019 to 2023, 90% of all Christians killed worldwide freedom in Africa 2024. It also tells us of 55,910 killed and 21,000 abducted between October 2019 and September 2023. It also predominantly Christian regions, including Benue, Plateau, and Kaduna. Gentlemen, let me start with Reverend Anolefo here in the studio. What are your thoughts on this worrisome development? It's affecting multiple communities.
I'll put the answer in two ways. The first is yes. There is definitely a concerted effort, and Christians are definitely being attacked. The statistics are out there. priests who have been abducted and killed just in the Northeast alone. If we have to bring in all those from different parts of the country, you will know that between 2015 and till date, it's the numbers who have been killed over time. And then with particular reference to issues in the Northeast, the Northwest, and of course, the Middle Belt, the North Central, where lands are being usurped and taken and renamed, you will see that but the second side of it is that I think it's also a part of a bigger problem.
Okay.
Yes. It might be a little bit simplistic to just leave it at the level of religious crisis alone. I would want to think that there is also the lack of political will. So the politics of the country is terrible enough that those create cannon foders for some of these things that are happening. And the last but not the least, the economic indices. There's poverty, there's unemployment, there's hunger. So all of this put together, it's going to be just a micro. It's a huge potpourri of disaster waiting to happen. But then, I think I'll agree the fact that there is a targeted, assault on the Christian religion in Nigeria.
Go to Mr. Gbaja. Mr. Gbaja, do you share the thoughts of my guest in the studio on this matter? There's a debate ongoing that look, this is not about Christians. There's general insecurity in town, and it's unfortunate.
We have to go beyond even just the primary actors in this matter. It has gone on for nearly 2 decades. You know that the foot soldiers that are actually the foremost purveyors of this, they are undergirded by another and the killings by themselves and the reasons and excuses given, which range from religious to ethnic and to even political. These are the excuses being given for Nigerians being killed. If you look at the middle, with Boko Haram that came on the foremost list of this. They said very clearly they were here to change the government. They were insurgents, and they were going to do it by reason of jihad. And it meant death to apart from the Northeast, where Boko Haram has operated very actively, the North Central or the Middle Belt area right down to the Northwest, you see that the major players have been the people of this country know who they are. They are not unknown gunmen. They are not unknown persons. They are very well-known people. It just baffles me how for 15 years they are bandits, they are kidnappers, but we won't name who they are. The only ones they feel free to name are Boko Haram. But you see, the herdsmen have done so much damage in this place. And everywhere from Sokoto to Zamfara to places. They have been identified by their victims. Why is it that we have not pursued further? They could not have been operating alone. But in a nutshell, what you have seen is that the excuse of religion and the herdsmen on the other side, they have said this is what we are doing and this is why we are doing this. It still baffles me how Nigerians, Christians, Muslims are not being protected. Of course, the middle belt, where you see that the figures are frightening, they are very disturbing, they are very concerning. And it has gone on in thousands and probably hundreds of thousands now. Over 3 million people today as we speak. Forced to think that this is a targeting, but by who? You have to come down to the narrative of the people on ground who are actually the foot soldiers doing this.
Okay.
What narrative did they come with? So those are the things that we're looking at.
Mr. Gbaja, maybe Nigeria needs some help. As they say, if you can't help yourself, maybe someone needs to help you. I'd like to take the words of Bishop Anagbe, who said the attacks on Christians are religiously motivated. He made that in a congressional hearing in the United States. He belongs to the Diocese of Makurdi and testified as a viable witness to killings that are targeted against Christians. Let's listen to him, and then we can take it from there.
Like in the past, many jihadists are motivated less by religion than by spoils of war, and use their religion to impose themselves. In my diocese, the spoils consist mainly of fertile, well-tended land organized around my parishes or so. The jihadists come and adopt and kill the priests, leaving thousands without support and basic human services. And of course, when they disperse the people, the inhabitants, or the citizens, or the people of the lands, they take over. And any attempt to go back and take care of your farms, surely you get killed. The Makurdi Diocese in Benue State has been the epicenter of the invasion by these herders, who are more like hired guns of cattle oligarchies, who manipulate religion to rally the herders to eliminate the Christian population and cleanse the land in the name of Islam. This objective is behind the relentless attacks against Benue's villages. When we call for help to the police and the army, they do not come. At the end of 2024, several villages were warned by the attackers of the upcoming violence, and the leaders called the police for defense ahead of time. But they did not come, and the Christian massacres, almost customary, took place, killing hundreds in Plateau and Benue, with the worst massacre claiming 47 people. The militant also burned down the 8 Catholic churches of St. Mary's Parish in the Diocese of Boko, which in Benue State, as well as the parish house, clinics, schools, and other houses. The militant Fulani herdsmen bear on defenseless villagers without consequences. They follow orders to conquer, kill, and occupy. They attack even those who have managed to escape into our IDP camps. Thereby, they have no place to run to. And it is unfortunate that the police system in Nigeria, orders have to come from above. And such that once there's a call, and they say they have never responded. And by the time they arrive, these people have left, and the people are now living in the pool of their blood. What I have recounted above is happening not only in Benue State. I believe our experience in Benue is symptomatic of what is happening elsewhere in large parts of Nigeria. The experience of the Nigerian Christians today can be summed up as that of a church under Islamist extermination. It is frightening to live there. Apart from the violent campaigns and attacks against Christian villages, there are now attempts by the Islamic Council of Nigeria and various Islamic groups to impose Sharia law on the Christian populations. Already, 12 states in the north of Nigeria are under this sectarian religious law and attempts.
that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis at Devlin 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
All right, great to have you back. We're just reflecting on the testimony of Bishop Anagbe in Congress in the United States. In his testimony against the attack on Christians, one thing that was very glaring was what he pointed out as the impact on education as well, where 12 states have shut down schools, and we're supposed to be living in a secular country where there are religious freedoms and rights according to the provisions of the Constitution. In Section 38, there is right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. And so how do you react to some of these developments? What do they point to? As you see, right to freedom of thought, conscience, freedom to change religion or beliefs, and right to practice and propagate religion. So there's an inalienable right that every Nigerian citizen should have, but it really doesn't look like that, Reverend.
Yeah, it's a very precarious situation we found ourselves in the country. It seems like there are two laws governing us in the country, one for a certain sect of persons and the other for the rest. We would know full well that in the northern part of Nigeria, most parts that have adopted Sharia, they go by the penal code, while the rest will go with the criminal code. And somehow you see things are done in a way that is mind-boggling to the average Nigerian, that you can't even understand. Just like you've reported, the educational system, people are preparing for JAM, preparing for WAEC, but schools have to be shut down at this point in 12 states because they are observing Ramadan. And knowing full well that it's a secularist state, and as much as we agree that you have lots of Muslims in that region, you still have a very large percentage of Christians in those areas. Now, if one sect decides that everybody is going to sit at home because we are having this, imagine that were the case across the country. In the Christian faith, as Catholics, this is a Lenten season. Do we decide that, okay, in the South, everyone should be at home because this is Lent? And Lent is for 40 days. So for 40 days, everyone should be at home. Nobody should go to school. No one should go to work. It can be worrying. And the fact that we know that, yes, education is not on the exclusive list. It's on the concurrent list. So it behoves on the state governments to rein in these ideologies and help to bring some level of normalcy and understanding. We are not saying that if a particular group wants to sit at home because of Ramadan, they cannot make it a universal law in that state. They should also allow for those who want to go to school to continue to go to school. We can't run a system where one law works in one place, another one works in another, and when you speak, you are probably going to be accused of being religiously intolerant to the others. And, you know, even in countries where you have majority of their citizens, like in Saudi Arabia, where almost everyone is Muslim, you don't find this. In Pakistan, you don't find these types of things. And then you come to a country like Nigeria that is probably evenly split at about 50-50%, both the Muslims and Christians. And then you still have these types of issues. It can be a bit worrying, but I think at this stage, there's need for concerted discussions. We must sit at the round table and have these conversations, knowing full well that this is not an Islamic country. This is a secular state, and we must respect that.
All right, we must respect that. Mr. Gbaja, you share the thoughts of Reverend Nolefo here. Do we need to have a discussion on this? Do we need to confront these issues? Have we been treating symptoms here?
I think we have been living in denial and in delusion for too long. This is an issue that is so fundamental. There's a structural issue and foundation with our constitution. You can't operate two systems of law in a country. It's asking for problems. We will always be 500 languages in Nigeria, we can't be one language. There will always be Muslims and Christians and traditional believers in this country. And we need a law that oversees the lives and the functions of all of us here. And you're not going to do that by banding to any one particular group of people. And I think that this is leading us into very, very serious situations that if we don't stop it immediately and now, it's going to end in tragedy. Because basically, where there is no justice and there's no uprightness, tragedy will happen. What we see right now in this country is a result of that foolishness. It's a result of that presumption. We have presumed too much. These decisions taken by those governors had nothing to do with the interests of the children. And a lot of the decisions are just simply political. Even what we were talking about, the insecurity. I was telling you that we have to go beyond the foot soldiers. Behind them are political interests, where the issues of religion and the issues of ethnicity are brought and hampered, and the narratives are being sold or shoved down people. That's why we don't have peace anymore. We seem to have a small mischievous class called the political class that have been at the center of so much turmoil. Whether you're talking about economic degradation or you're talking about insecurity or intolerance of any type, I don't know what has gone wrong with our political so-called elites. I don't know, it translates into executive rascality, legislative rascality, and sometimes judicial rascality. What we are seeing today, the lack of peace, is because we have put on high gear injustice. And I think we need to come back to that. And it's not going to work for our country if we don't stop.
Okay, Mr. Baja, let me go. The president seems to have responded to some of these concerns in his own way. Recently invited the Catholic Bishops Conference of Nigeria, CBCN, to Aso Villa, and where he bared down his mind on some of the issues that have been raised, especially looming sanctions over Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The president says poverty has no religious basis, no religious coloration, no identity, it affects all, and we must fight it together, emphasizing that during his tenure as governor of Lagos State, he returned all missionary schools to show that he is not a religious bigot, in his words. Let's take that soundbite and we'll come back to wrap it up.
And poverty has no religious basis. It has no religious coloration, no identity. It affects all. And we must fight it together. I've been a good example as the governor of Lagos State. I've returned all the religious mission schools. Well, we look at the possibility of a committee, because when you look at the constitutional democracy, it is tough for its twists and turns. Where are those schools being? No, they are in the hand of the state government, subnationals. They are not federal institutions. It's just pretentious, caliber designation when you say this is a federal school. It's a Nigerian school. We have to be more dedicated as citizens. We have to invest in ourselves. I'm glad you mentioned the tax reform. That's part of the investment opportunity. Citizens must be able to build their nation. this insecurity, everyone is affected, Christian, Muslim alike. And I have no religious behind. But, I won't be a bigot. My wife is a pastor of Redeemed Christian Church, Faith.
All right, President punctuated there with saying, my wife is a pastor of the Redeemed. Does that assuage any of your concerns, Reverend, as we round off this discussion? What would you like to round off with?
Well, for starters, not at all. It doesn't assuage my feelings. In no way are we going to impute that the president is a religious bigot. He has not necessarily shown that to be a religious bigot. But then, when we talk about low-hanging fruits, it's a lot easier for you to go to places where you think it's going to be easy for you to muscle people around. And you can't, just like he just said, the federal schools or the schools in the states are in the hands of the government. And you know, it's leading to chaos, it's leading to problems, it's leading to disaster. You can rein in the government, you can call them in. That's exactly what he did with River State. You know, so if you're not going to call them in, 12 states, and say, okay, gentlemen, what exactly is going on here? Can we have a conversation? This is not a religious country. It's not it's a secular state. Let's have this conversation. We have other persons of other interests that are affected. Let's have this conversation.
In this business.
In this business. Let's have this conversation. So, probably I'm not flattered by all that.
All right, Reverend Nolefo, not moved by the president's speech there. Well, let me go to Mr. Badger. I hate to put you in such a tight situation, but we have barely a minute to go, because I certainly believe there is a lot more to unpack on these issues, and probably we will have to find another time to do so. But I would love you to share your thoughts on what the president said right now.
The president needs to come to the decision that not one Nigerian should again be killed under any pretense, religious, ethnic, or political. Once he makes that decision, I believe that whatever it takes to do this, because I don't believe that Nigeria lacks the capacity or the intel to deal with this. I think the political will to deal with this, because insecurity is not like one person who is just having a field day over Nigeria. It is a phenomenon. It's an issue that is here that can be stopped. We have enough people, we have the technology, we have the structure in this country that could fight and deal with this in a very short time. And I hope that the president can sit up as the foremost person who took the oath of office to ensure the security and the protection and the welfare of Nigerians. We have all it takes to bring this thing and to neutralize it. I think that when that decision is taken, that not one Nigerian again should ever be killed by anyone under any pretext. We have the people, we have the technology, and it can be done. Let's do it. It should be done.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to my guests here in the studio, Reverend Raymond Nolefo. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
On the agenda. I also want to say a big thank you to Mr. Polycarp Badger for sharing his thoughts on this very critical matter. Gentlemen, there's no doubt that there is a lot to say about this development, and I certainly hope that we will have another opportunity to actually delve into it, more robust discussion, but we will have to leave it here for now. And it is certain that the president has his work cut out for him. He has a lot to do, and he has that huge responsibility to rein in the interests that are working against this great nation. Well, it's been a very interesting development and discussion on today's edition of the program. And don't forget, you can always find us at our dial at www.ln247.news. And always remember, as I say, that only Nigerians can build Nigeria. My name is Henry Williams. Thanks for staying with us, and bye for now.